So the next panel is for AI-enabled autonomous systems. So we would request the speakers to step ahead while I'm reading their names. Sandhya Guntureddy. Sandhya Guntureddy is a Principal Group Program Manager in Commerce and Finance Services Organization of Microsoft. Her primary focus is modernizing commercial and financial platform that process Microsoft's revenue. With over 2 decades of experience in the IT industry, Sandhya has held top positions in companies like Intel, Satyam, and now Microsoft. Her work cuts across different disciplines in the product life cycle. To achieve this, she engaged live in big data analytics and artificial intelligence, machine learning, and user experiences. A Shivering Fellow from the Oxford University, a TEDx speaker, Sandhya continues to pay it forward by actively mentoring young women. She has also been contributing to the biggest Women in Technology conference, Grace Hopper Conference India, and has even chaired System Engineering and Emerging Trends track across different years. So please put your hands together to welcome Sandhya to the panel.
So next speaker on the panel is Mr. Manohar Reddy. He is the founder of CEO of Fusey Incorporation, an IT solutions company with operations in USA, Costa Rica, and India. He is also the founder director of PV Insight USA, a solar photovoltaics design and engineering services company. He started a foundation with a seed grant of $1 million that adopted his village in Andhra Pradesh and transformed it as a model village in a span for 4 years, making it the first model village in Andhra Pradesh. Manohar Reddy enabled significant investments into Andhra Pradesh and Telangana states in IT, aerospace, and healthcare. He was the president of TIE Hyderabad chapter during 2021 and chaired TIE Sustainable Summit 2021, which went on to become the biggest global congregation of sustainability startups. And he's going to be the moderator for this panel discussion. Put your hands together for Mr. Manohar Reddy.
So next we move on to Arvind Azad. Arvind Azad Yera is Chief Technology at Wipro Ideas and Wipro Fellow. Mr. Arvind has played multiple roles in Wipro that involves technology strategy, new technology capability and initiatives, cloud-native architectures, and thought leadership. Over 27 years of experience in the technology service industry, he worked with clients across industries and created business-focused solutions leveraging distributed computing tech architect. His current areas of search include smart and intelligent applications, cloud-native computing, quantum computing, edge computing, metaverse, and decentralized applications. Arvind is a fitness enthusiast and a marathoner. Welcome to the panel.
Our next speaker on the panel is Mr. Praveen Mukkapati. Praveen Mukkapati is Deputy Director of NASSCOM. In his role, he leads the efforts of Telangana AI Mission. At TAIM, he leads a startup acceleration program called RevUp. The program supports 140 plus AI startups from around the country. In addition, he drives the skill enablement mandate for the state in association with the regional government. Overall, Praveen possesses 13 plus years of multifaceted experience in technology, wherein he has operated as an ecosystem enabler, venture capital investor, researcher, marketer, and a business growth architect. He is an alumni of IIM Bangalore, Texas A&M University, and Osmania University.
Last but not the least, let's welcome together Shiv Prasad to the panel. He is an Associate Vice President at HCL Tech and has over 22 years of global experience in technology, product engineering, BFSI, and automotive areas. With his vast experience on technology and operations, Shiv has helped various organizations scale their business exponentially. Shiv in his current role, works with HCL Tech's chairperson, Ms. Roshni Nadar Malhotra, and the CEO, C. Vijay Kumar, in growing HCL Tech's business in India and Romania regions. He has instrumental in setting up HCL Tech's Vijayawada campus and grew it to over 4,000 plus engineers in less than 2.5 years limit. So, welcome aboard, and we hand it over to Manu.
A very good afternoon to all of you, and thank you, my finalists, for joining. We're all trying to figure out what do we need to do after the lunch, because I'm sure at least another 1/3 is still trying to figure out what are the desserts. Okay, and so we'll try to keep it informal, simple, and try to avoid any gyan that you can get from YouTube or internet. Okay? We will try to share the experiences, and I've asked my panelists, and they are kind enough to tell me that they will share as many stories as they can related to AI. Okay? So that's what we will try to do. So thank you, first of all. So just to set the context, you all know AI, but everybody has a perception of what is AI. Okay? So AI is either it's a program, a machine, or a device that actually leverages the computers and machines to mimic the human mind for problem solving or decision making. That's just the definition. I'll stop my internet gam there. Okay? This is just for the intro. So you all know that future is going to be the AI, and it's going to enable our lives in a completely different way, and it's going to have a huge impact in the way we are going to live, the way we are going to work, the way we are going to interact with others, the way it can create the human experience, and the way we are going to engage with the data. Okay? And there are so many examples that I could give on each of these. So instead of taking the thunder, I will actually let each of the speakers, what we did is, we came up with a couple of questions for each of them, but I won't jump into the questions right now. I want to ask each of them just a 1-minute brief of what is AI mean to them, okay, them and in their journey. Yeah, I'll start with Sandhya.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's wonderful to be here, especially coming after, I think, a couple of decades to Vizag. I was born and brought up here, so it's very, very close to my heart being here in the city. So thank you for having me here first. In terms of, thanks Mano to give us some time to introduce ourselves and what does AI mean to me. I think when I think about it, right, I kind of, as a person, I go with the flow and I try to make make the most of any situation. I've learned about AI based on my work. I've been in AI and our organization, Microsoft, for about more than a decade, and I've learned it on the job. I've never studied AI per se in college in an academic area, but it's kind of learned on the job, so that's going with the flow. What it means to me is, how does technology help in any human evolution, right? I mean, how does it make life easy? I think one of the things which people say is the best solutions are done given by, if you give it to a lazy person, they know how to make it the easiest and the fastest way to do it. And AI is here for us in a lot of ways. It's helping us being more productive, and it's in our daily lives, right? Whether it's Alexa or even in mobile, right? If you think about it, so much of edge computing is happening out here. There's so much of automation is happening here. ChatGPT, I think, that's the latest topic if you think about it, right? Content generation, image generation. In fact, when I was thinking about talking about it, I said, hey, what is ChatGPT is going to do it, right? It's going to make your life easy, like it's an autofill, right? You're not going to plagiarize everything, but it's going to help you get to what you want to speak about or what you want to communicate in much easier way. It's making our lives easier. So I would look at AI as making my life easier and everyone's life easier out here. I'll hand it over to you.
So having studied in Vizag about 27 years ago, good to be back here on this stage along with honored co-speakers here. Coming to the question, and having exposed to computer a little early in my career, I never thought AI is something that what it is today, right? Way back in 27 years ago. When I looked at AI, it was more like list programming, having few rules and data sets, manipulating them, and what you could do versus, the AI currently. It has been evolving every 2 years. I could see that, what we started from way back using expert systems to what we are now here, generative AI and transformers and the things that we can do with DALL-E 2, GPT-3, ChatGPTs. It's like amazing, right? So, and I only think that my understanding and appreciation of AI will going to go further, right, as we go along. And I think whether we all believe it or not, but I think we will reach that singularity where AI will be the superhuman intelligence. Probably it is 20 years from now, 30 years from now. That's only we can guess, but I'm sure we will be going there.
Hi everyone, it's really a pleasure being back to Vizag. I remember doing my summers project in Vizag Steel Plant and also several visits to Araku when I was a child. It's lovely to be in this city. Thank you for having me. And also amidst this amazing panel, very accomplished individuals, all of you. For me, to your question, Manohar, I think AI means impact. The kind of transformation that it brings to the industry, but of course more importantly to the larger society that we are all part of. And I see many evidences of that in my daily life, and for me to see them getting realized in the kind of joy to the various people that it actually impacts, and the kind of happiness that I see them, I really feel that it's something which has that immense power. And we should also be very responsible about how we use it. And I think these are few themes that I'd like to resonate myself with. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Manohar ji, asking this question. First, before we get into that response, let me just talk about what I am, how we have grown in Andhra Pradesh. We are HCL. I am representing HCL. I am Associate Vice President with HCL here. And I'm not sure how many of you know that we are 85 million organization in Andhra Pradesh, not including anything. We generate 85 million, which is close to 650 crores from Andhra Pradesh alone. This is a big number and we are not stopping. We are already 4,000 people and we are looking at growing to 10,000 people in Andhra Pradesh. I want all of you to take this message and tell them that Andhra Pradesh is not left behind. The reason why I am starting this is, in the morning we heard some people saying that, we have not got opportunity. I think not many companies are coming. I can actually tell you that people are very interested in coming to Andhra Pradesh and investing. We have a 30-acre campus and we are not stopping. We are exploring options. Because of the success that we've had in Andhra Pradesh, we are exploring options to establish 2 more centers in Andhra Pradesh. That's something which HCL is doing. Already it is active discussions with government were happening. In fact, Saurabh ji, when he was there, I think one of our Sridhar ji is here from government. So Sridhar ji, if you can stand, I'm working with him, with government of Andhra Pradesh in getting this done. Now coming to the point, right? 85 million, 4,500 plus people in Andhra Pradesh alone is what we are. And coming to the AI question. For me, AI, because I'm coming from services industry, let me answer it in services way. Doing business in an unusual way. We usually talk about BAU, right? I don't want to be a BAU. I want to use AI and do the business in an unusual way. And I think like what Praveen ji said, impactful, right? Currently, every facet of life is really, somewhere or the other, you will have the AI impact. You'll see currently, without your knowledge, like what Mohan Reddy Garu said in the morning, if you look at hardware, if you look at any industry, there is technology. And I'll tell you that if you look at any industry, any particular topic in future, in 5 years from now, you'll see AI inside. From camera to the recruitment to any other business that you do, or to responding to the customer, everything is AI, everything is conversational, sentimental, or impactful. So this is what it is for me. I know I've taken a little longer, Manoharji, but yeah, let's look forward to having a great conversation. Thank you for the opportunity, guys.
So thank you everybody for the wonderful introduction. Anyway, so you all know that there has been a phenomenal evolution in the AI space. Probably a decade ago, we all used to see the news where if a computer has beaten Vishwanathan Anand, that used to be a news in the chess. But now, if anybody can beat a supercomputer, that's the news. That means the computers have evolved much more rapidly, and AI is the reason behind it. Okay? And there are enough examples. I'm sure if you have been in this conference, you all have your own understanding. Nowadays, just simple things like now you have Tesla that can drive itself, and it's going to be there soon in India. And then you have those robots actually cleaning and mopping your floor, and when you have obstructions, it will find a way to go around it and cleans it. Starting from that, the kind of evolution that is going to happen is going to basically make a huge difference in terms of efficiencies, productivity, and the way we actually interact with the rest of the world, people. Languages are going to be no more barriers. We can speak in any language, and without losing the context, that can be translated exactly to all nationalities or whoever that you are communicating with. And most of the creative work, either it is writing, designing, art, as long as you have the concept, the AI can do the rest. Okay, so at some point, I am very sure we all don't have to travel to Vizag, and we could be in our own meetings, but our own holograms will be speaking as if, and we could program just the questions, and somebody will be answering with the same exact, whatever you want to call, lip movement, or, as if we are here. So that's going to be the future, and it's happening at a much rapid scale than we can ever imagine, actually. Just within 5 years, what all can happen is what probably I could think that what we would have taken 50 years, now it's going to take only 5 years. That's how it is happening. So with that background, I just wanted to ask, let me start with Praveen. So Praveen has been with NASCAM, and he is also heading the Telangana AI mission. And he is trying to, get this adoption going across the government or industries. And what is he seeing, and are there any challenges that you are facing in terms of AI adoption? Okay.
I'm glad you asked that about challenges a bit, because those challenges are going to be everywhere, and even in the government, there is going to be pushback. Everybody resists change. It's very human tendency to resist change. People are comfortable with what they want to do, and I think it's just the same even in the government. I don't want to make government as the villain here. Everybody is like that. It's just a human tendency, like I was saying. Now, what I have seen in my experience working with the government, for that matter, is there is the lack of awareness in terms of the specificity of how a particular technology such as AI can be adopted within. What needs to be done is an approach which has to have a very a human-centered approach, right, or a stakeholder-centric approach in terms of how AI can solve the problems of their stakeholders. And as long as the language is communicated in that particular manner, it becomes easier. Now, for example, if I look at my experience working with the forest department, and this is in Telangana that I'm speaking about, the standard way of really monitoring wildlife, it's a very interesting use case, and something which I'm personally very proud of is sort of looking at how we can assist forest officials monitor their wildlife better. Now there are camera traps. Camera traps are these devices that are installed on trees, and they keep taking pictures. And these pictures are taken whenever there is any movement. So just imagine that leaves are moving and pictures are getting taken. But that's not of interest. What is of interest is, are there animals that are moving, and hence a picture has to be taken? Are there people in the core areas of the forest taking their cattle along, which they should not be, but it's important to understand where those transgressions are happening. All of that is getting recorded. That's great. But just imagine the sample data size that gets generated. We're looking at about 3-month period, 30,000 images, one forest reserve. And one official is tasked with the responsibility of going across each of these images day after day. Imagine us doing that. It can get very, very stressful and taxing. What is even worse, out of the 30,000 images, perhaps about 7,000 or 8,000 images would contain objects of interest, which means bulk of these images you're looking at leaves. Just imagine, picture yourself as a forest official. How do we bring AI into this? One, of course, is automate the whole reading process of these images, which is very natural. But more importantly, can we look at building patterns over a period of time in terms of movement of animals, something which forest officials would not possibly have. And this is something that we try to do. And the only way to do it is not to really replace what they were doing, because that's a challenge. If you, Manohar, to your point, if we start looking at, hey, we are going to replace you, like in the case of industry or government, nobody's going to feel happy about it. So the idea is to augment. So there is census that is taken place, national authorities and state level authorities. Census taking process happens once in a year, or maybe in some cases even longer. Now what if we say that, hey, we'll give you insights which is near real time, once in 15 days. Insights which they never had before. Now that is very valuable, especially where forest reserves have tigers, and tigers as endangered species, and they would like to know where they are. So this is something which, and I see one of our startups, Kiran, raise your hand. So there's a startup called Garudalytics. They are Hyderabad and Vizag based, and we are supporting them as a part of our acceleration program, one of the 140 startups. But they were also as one of the finalists for this particular Open Innovation Challenge that we did on behalf of the Forest Department, and they did an excellent job. And I'm only telling a part of the story, but a full story will be told by Kiran. So I'm using the opportunity to pull his plug here as well. But there are instances which I see even in the municipal corporation where they are really looking at how do you maintain roads, how do you reduce fatalities, but then potholes is something which we all know. We face that challenge, and we're trying to look at how can we bring AI into helping them understand the road conditions in the road network in Hyderabad, especially the ones that are not maintained by contractors. Now, the deterioration quality, you don't want to really fix potholes after they are formed. How can we look at finding patterns to predicting when the potholes are likely to happen? There are these cracks that start to form before a larger pothole crater is developed. So our approach has been trying to look at, hey, if we try to solve this for you, and again, like I said, the stakeholder-centric approach, and trying to see if, this is the way we position it, then we see there is a much lesser challenge. Of course, there could be other forms of challenge, especially when it comes to scaling up these initiatives. But as long as there is an executive buy-in, which we see in some governments, I think we are certainly in a good place.
Thank you, Praveen. I'm very sure AI is going to enable a better citizen services, certainly, and thank you for sharing the stories. Again, we'll keep it informal. Feel free to chip in and share as long as they are stories. Okay, so anyway, coming back, I'll come back to Arvind. Okay? Since we are talking about AI-enabled automation system, autonomous systems, how do you see the impact in manufacturing, and how is it going to impact the shop floor workspace and factories of future?
A very interesting question. In the morning there was a panel on Industry 4.0, and some of you have heard what is the direction we are heading in terms of using AI in the manufacturing. So I'll just go back to a small experience I had. 4 years ago, I was invited to a factory asking for what can be the use cases where we can consider AI, right? So it's about 4-5 years ago. And when I entered the factory, I was expecting a factory floor would be like, a lot of dust and, probably very dirty, and, they might have some primitive equipment here and there, a lot of people, etc. That's what my impression of a factory is. But this is 5 years ago. I saw this factory, and there's no people on the floor at all, right? So these are basically huge machines, and then there is a control room where 5 people sitting, and then they're managing these manufacturing process. And the only part where they actually go to the floor is that if there is a malfunction or if they have to intervene because of something, they would go. So manufacturing is in fact already been using, right? So there is a saying, probably you would have heard, future is already here, but it is unevenly distributed. So a lot of us have a perception of what is it, and in terms of use of technology based on what we have seen. But there is already future, many people living it. It's just about knowing it. So now coming back to your question, what I see is that automation is already there in the factories, right? So, and all of you know, and we have been doing automation for years and years. And when we say automation, it is largely automating tasks that are otherwise done by humans in the past, which are very rule-driven, sequential, and so on and so forth, right? The way I see in future, where we go, there is a small difference between automation and autonomy, maybe a big difference between automation and autonomy. Automation is about a task being automated as per a set of rules. Autonomy is like how we think, right? Can we think independently? And in real world, especially in manufacturing is a real world scenario, right? So as in, there are a lot of contextual challenges that you see as things go on, right? Like for example, if it is a process manufacturing, take an example of process manufacturing. There could be a lot of changes in terms of temperature, the humidity, and many other factors that can affect the process, which otherwise, which you could have taken granted in elsewhere. But in this case, you can't have a fixed set of rules which will automate such process. So you would need, here where the AI really comes in and autonomy really comes in. Can you actually look at all this data and can take the decision independently without pre-programming these decisions, right? So that is where I would see autonomy and AI coming in, bringing in autonomy into manufacturing, be it robotics. I think that is one of the very popular use cases. Again, current set of robots that we see in the shopping floors, probably pre-programmed. The factory that I talked about earlier, it is a pre-programmed robotic scenario, right, where everything is automated, but it is very fixed. And whenever there is a small aberration, then human involvement is required. But the way I would see that is as we go into more autonomic robotics, so the processes that what happens in the factories will be a lot more automated than what it is currently. So, and this would go not just into process manufacturing and many other disciplines of manufacturing, as I would expect it to see in the future.
So thank you, Arvind. Just reminded me of, how we, if it is a distribution center, let's say I had the opportunity to visit Amazon's distribution center. And when I thought of a distribution center, you expect a lot of people segregating different items, throwing into different bins, and, when you go there, it's just amazing to even just see that there are no lights in the distribution center because it's all being done by robots, and robots don't need light. So it's basically a dark house. Imagine some machines going here and there, picking these items that are ordered by consumers. And I could, even today, I don't understand how do they segregate between the color, texture, size of a t-shirt that you are ordering from those dark bins, okay? So that is AI for you. Okay? So I mean, thank you for sharing that. Coming to Sandhya, so as a seasoned product leader in the AI space, how do you see the evolving importance and role of ethics in artificial intelligence?
Thanks, Manohar. That's a very, very pertinent question, right? AI is making our life easier, and we've heard great examples how it's helping in shop floor, in creating impact in citizen services and all of that stuff, right? But at the same time, there are also challenges which people kind of talked about, right? So ethics is one of them, if you think about it. As technology is advancing, it's very important that we have, take that responsibility. And how many of you have seen Spider-Man, right? With great responsibility comes, with more power comes greater responsibility, and that's where we are as technology and as society. In the human society, ethics is very important. So it cannot be very different in the digital world or in the AI space. So I think ethics is very, very important. Let's take a couple of examples, as most of us have heard, where we've seen, especially in the sensitive areas, how it's been a challenge. If you look at healthcare ecosystem, there are a lot of models. One algorithm which is very, very known to all of us has tried to assess or predict that the healthcare for black people, or the need of healthcare, is lesser than white, if you will, right? The reason that has happened is because they've taken healthcare costs as a proxy to the healthcare needs, which is wrong, because the way people access healthcare is very, very different, and diverse people use healthcare for different needs, and that's a challenge because hospitals and insurance companies have started using it, and that became detrimental. So it's very important to figure out what is the intent of it. Another example is look at from a legal perspective, right? AI criminal justice tool. It was used predominantly for assessing the defendant's risk, for example, on whether they're going to commit crime again. And there is human bias, right? We all are biased, and there's some good bias and bad bias as well. So some of the bad biases crept into it, and that created an issue, and the tool was taken back. So there are very important, we got to figure out what is publicly used and what are sensitive applications of the AI, and make sure that we have human intervention in these things so that the responsible people are kind of leveraging it, right? So ethics is very important. In fact, there are discussions going on everywhere. A lot of countries and policies are coming together. It's what do we need to do about it, right? There's both society, frameworks, industry, policy, governments, all of us need to come together and create frameworks to address it. In fact, in last year, UNESCO opened up recommendations on ethics, if you will, and Microsoft, where I work, we have 6 AI principles, and we have an ether committee where we kind of, every AI model we have to go and talk about it, and have transparency notes, explainability, safety and security, right, whenever you're using it. In fact, let me take an example when you talk about, we have an Azure service called facial recognition, and we actually open up transparency notes. So like, how do you explain? Why are we recommending this? Why is this? What is this prediction? It's very important. What is the intended use? Are you using this for the right use, or are you using it for rogue purposes, right? It's very important to look at it. I think when you talk about ethics, it's very, very important, and as the technology is advancing, it is becoming more and more pertinent, and we have to deal with it as a socio-technology problem, and it's not just a technology problem. We have to have the society, legal, policy, all coming together and address it together is the way I would say.
Thank you, Sandhya. Just reminds me of something when they were trying to design a Google autonomous car. Somebody was telling me they were even trying to figure out if the car has to hit somebody and there are 2 potential targets, whether it is an old woman crossing the road versus a young man, it seems car has to choose now which one. Okay, so those are all the kind of problems that now the designers have in the AI world. So just
yeah, absolutely. I think all of us can do, certain things in our own way, right? I remember a hackathon which we did. I think you were talking about open innovation hubs and stuff like that. A team of folks who come together and created an app, just to segregate SMSs on your mobile, right? Because now SMSs have become more of a consumption rather than, reactive, right? What they've done is they've created a model which kind of sits here, which is, very, very small, even in the low specs. They ensure that the data doesn't move to the cloud because your SMS data is very, very private to you. So it's, those smaller things are very, very important as well because privacy is super, super important, data privacy, especially when you're thinking about this is something we all as technologists have to go think about data privacy, pretty much breathe it, right? I think that's, one example I just wanted to call out.
Go ahead.
You want to add?
Please.
I wanted to, and this is I think some of the frameworks and the 6 AI principles that you all have, but I think it's important that as an industry body we talk about an effort that we did earlier in 2021. We launched what we call as a responsible AI hub. A lot of different toolkits, assessments, your readiness as an organization in case you're dabbling with AI. It's important that you look at your development processes with a responsible AI lens. And there are these different tools that are available at your disposal, and I'd strongly recommend that you all take a look at that. I just want to make sure that these are great resources that are available. It's important to use them so that AI development happens responsibly. Thanks.
And just food for a thought for a lot of you. So this is a technique that recently some of the companies are using to enforce ethics. So whether the AI, whatever it is suggesting or whether it is recommending, is it ethical? Can that be enforced by another AI? All right. So is that the right approach? Yeah, we should see how it is.
Absolutely. If I may add, it looks like we're going on. But,
Please go ahead.
I think it's very important to also have third-party assessment tools, right? I think not just another AI, but also have a third-party assessment tools. And this could be an AI, but also have some kind of human intervention, if you will, right? So there are regulatory frameworks, and they can sign, hey, this is the intended use per se. Auditing, we all have auditing. We talk about tax audits, this audit, a bunch of energy audits, right? We should have AI auditing systems as well and monitoring systems so that we ensure that the issues are addressed, and it has to be continuous because machines are learning on the fly. So we also have to have auditing systems on a regular basis too.
Again, it reminds me of Rajnikant's Robo movie, if you have all heard about it, There was a robot that's very obedient and can do some magic, and suddenly, if it has a heart of its own beyond the mind, and what can happen, and if it can replicate and reproduce, and how it can take over the world. And please trust me, it's not anymore an imagination. It's quite possible, and so we all need to make sure that those ethics and whatever you want to call guidelines go into those designs. Okay? So coming back to Shiv Prasad, okay? While AI is disrupting the innovation across the industries, where do you see AI playing a role in the software delivery and support?
Okay, I think very relevant question to all the people. I think majority of the IT guys here working on the services, software services in India. Primarily services is our core competency. What I see is it's not one part of the software services delivery that cannot be used. I mean, AI cannot be used in any of this. For example, let's start with the customer, right? All of you have your customers, and you get RFPs, you get the proposals from the customer wherein you need to respond. What we have done is we have created a AI-enabled automatic RFP response tool. The way it helps is, for example, I'm sure how many industries that you have. You have 25, 30 industries. You get projects from a similar kind of a group of people regularly, and you have done so much of work in the past. Looking at all the data that is already present with you, looking at all the responses that you have already done, looking at the projects that are delivered successfully, not just the responses. Which are the projects that got delivered ahead of time? Using those, what we did is we created the RFP response tool, AI-enabled RFP response tool. This helped reduce 70% of the time. Because I am telling you, personally, I worked on many RFPs before this came in, this tool came in. Every time we had to go to all the old mails, copy-paste the PPT, same diagram, same story points, everything was same. With this tool, the system was able to get me most relevant information at a almost within less than a day. I had almost all the data ready. So I was saying the customer has given us 15 days time, wherein I was ready in less than 1 day, because most of the presentation is already made for me. So that's the first step, that you are able to respond to your RFPs very quickly. And there are many tools, free tools also available, by the way, for those who want to use. You don't need to really go break your head. There are free tools available that can do a lot of job if you have the right data saved in your computers, in your machines. That's the first step. Now when you respond to the RFP, then there are some questions, right? You have the response questions also. You need to answer those questions. The tool also, what it does is, it looks at the questions. It's all the conversational APIs that you use. So you look at the questions and then respond to most of them, create a response for you. You just need to look at it, final human intervention, because I don't want to lose the project. So look at the questions, okay, most of it is relevant, and the budgeting is also okay. Then you say, okay, I'm done with my work, let's submit to the next level, customer. That's fine. Then the third step is understanding the sentiment of the customer. Customers sometimes, I'm sure all of you are aware, they just float the RFPs just for the sake of it, right? They will not have a lot of intention, true intention to get the project to you. As a services guy, I know that I've worked on many RFPs. I've heard people talking, okay, yeah, it's okay, yeah, we'll talk. So the current tool that we have created is a sentiment analyzer tool. What it does is, it understands the sentiment of the customer by the conversations that you are having through email or the voice. I'm sure all of you would have heard about something called tonalytics. Basis the voice, the way customer is responding to your questions. There are some standard questions. You see what is the response from the customer, and if the response percentage is less than 60, 65, we know that we are not going to win the project. So we know ahead of time, well ahead of time, that whether we are going to get this project or not. That's something which has really helped, and I'm telling you, it is surely not foolproof. There are so many errors. We are piloting, we are modifying. It's all about the data that we have. We are modifying, trying to recreate. What really made the difference is the time. I don't need so many pre-sales team members. Earlier we used to have so many pre-sales team members, not for really doing any work, but other than just creating the PPTs, right? Copy the PPT from there to here, here to there. It is finally the same. That got avoided. Then coming to the actual delivery of the work. Let's say assume that I've won the project, now I'm delivering the project. During the delivery of the work, we have so many challenges. First major challenge that we faced after pandemic is staffing, right? I'm sure all of you had major challenges, you lost people, you had staffing challenges. So with the tools that we have created internally, in fact, we have not created honestly, we have engaged a third party for this particular thing. This third party is allowing us to get the right profiles, because my delivery managers do not have time to do thousands of interviews. I am losing people at 30% attrition, 25%, 30% attrition on one side, and if I ask my manager to do the interviews continuously, it will not help. So what we did is we engaged this third party who helped us get the right profiles basis the first few feedbacks that are given. And the feedbacks were very precisely put in the system, in the tool. That was like one of a very good, a small boutique firm, but has done an excellent job. That helped reduce our recruitment times by near 50%. Still there is a long way to go, but at least it reduced the work by about 50%. Then once the staffing is done efficiently, you need the delivery, the project metrics, efficiency. Can I really be very efficient in my project delivery? Where are the areas that I can look at improving? right from code quality, looking at the code generation. I mean, she mentioned about chat GPT, right? All my developers are now going into chat GPT, copy pasting, is it okay? Simple. It's like you don't need to do anything, just copy paste in chat GPT, is it working, is it right code? Yes, you get the answer, done. You don't need to really do the testing also. So that's something which has revolutionized the entire software services industry. And in fact, some of the areas we said, please do not allow. We have blocked ChatGPT in HCL for now because people have become lazy. The OpenAI link is currently blocked because people have become very lazy. They're just copy pasting the problem and then getting the code, copy pasting back into the source. So this has become a major challenge. So I would say that it is the entire life cycle where AI is really very helpful. I've talked about testing. Now you just go look at getting the money from the customer. Who are the customers where we have enough, the money is not received? Where are the reasons? All the past data and how much time it takes, that analysis also can be done. For now, because it is finance, we have not got into that because we want to still go do manual work. But that is one way where we also are looking at exploring. So that's the entire life cycle in the software services delivery, Manoharji.
Thank you so much for sharing the examples, Shiva. So again, we all agree that the output of these AI-enabled systems depends on the quality of the data that we put in. Okay, so I was reading something recently, or watching something. So somebody has put in, and this AI, whatever engine, generates videos depending on the lines that you would put in. Somebody said salmon swimming in the sea, and what it generated is a salmon steak or a salmon fillet actually swimming in the sea. So somebody had to say it is probably a live salmon fish swimming in the sea. So because what it would do, it would go to the internet and pick up the most commonly used, people search, so they can pick up what dish they have to order in salmon. So anyway, so thank you for that.
Just want to add, how many developers here? Any developers? Quite a few. Okay, few, very few. But yeah, all of you are familiar with pair programming, right? This is one of the techniques in agile methods of doing software development. And the idea is that there are two developers sitting side by side, and one codes and other verifies while other person coding and augmenting. Like say, as you type, the other person say probably you are doing it here incorrectly, or maybe they would suggest that maybe you can do it differently. So whether you agree with that or not, but it's supposed to be more productive than you writing alone, right? And Microsoft's company called GitHub, if you know, GitHub has this thing called Copilot. So traditionally software developers, you cut the access to Stack Overflow, they can't code, right? Stack Overflow is the website where people ask questions and get answers and then copy paste them in their code. So what Copilot did is, Copilot uses technology from OpenAI, which is the same technology that is behind ChatGPT, called GPT-3, which basically helps you to generate programs and then use it as part of your code. So the way GitHub did it is that it is actually integrated into the IDE itself, right? So as part of the IDE, while typing the code, you can say, can you generate a small function which will translate time zone X from time zone Y to time zone Y, right? So it basically generates the code for you. And then you basically validate it. If it is working fine, move forward, right? So there is no reason, I know the intent when you said that people getting lazy, but that is what the reality is, in the sense that as we advance, what we used to think earlier, we don't need to think anymore, right? That would be the machine generated. And you can add further value on top of it, right? So that's how I think as we move forward into the future.
No, absolutely, totally agree, right? When you think about AI developers, right, we don't need any more, big tech people to do it, a lot of academic, we've got citizen developers coming in. That's the concept, right? You can actually, because the algorithms are there, the interfaces are there, the code is generated for you. If you have an idea, you can actually get the program out in a day or a couple of hours, in fact. I think it's all similar, right? Power BI, if you look at it, right? Anybody can write Power Apps, and get your solution out as well. So it's all about citizens making it easy. You don't need an engineering degree to go and write programs or, get your solution out. It's becoming more and more accessible for everybody. Development is accessible. You just need to have an idea. So that's what AI is bringing onto the table for all of us.
So one other point that I want to add on people becoming lazy, right? Arvind ji also was saying that people are becoming lazy. I would have been okay if they are lazy, but they are not becoming lazy. They are doing the second job in the free time that they have. That is a problem for me. So that's a major problem, and we do not entertain getting people doing the second job full time. Of course, in not industry, if they inform, if it is not a competitive thing, we are okay. But that's the other problem that I'm facing. I'm sure a lot of them will start to lose their jobs when they think, I can do second job, use this chat GPT to complete my work in 2 hours. So that is one other challenge that we see.
Thank you for the wonderful conversation. So, Anupama, how many minutes we have? Just want to make sure that we don't cross 5 minutes, 6 minutes. Okay. So, actually, I had one more set of questions. One each for each of you. So, but we'll do that a rapid fire. Okay. So, like a 30 seconds answer. And then, first of all, I just wanted to congratulate the organizers, Sridhar, Kosaraju, Narayana, and the rest of the team for putting together this wonderful program and all the supporting team. Okay, and certainly thank you very much, Sandhya from Microsoft, Arvind from Wipro, and Praveen from NASCOM, and Shiva Prasad from HCL. Thanks for joining and sharing. I've learned a lot of things today, but we'll go quick and rather than. I do have some questions which might be boring, so, but let me just do this. If you had all the resources in the world and with no budget, what would you do with AI?
AI will figure it out. It's AI, it is supposed to figure out a solution, so it will figure out how the budget it is.
It is intelligent.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think I can beat that answer.
Yeah, you should go for the next question.
Yeah, I think we've all given up.
Anybody else? Sure.
No, I think he's given it right? It's a
I know.
You answered a rapid fire.
That's a good question. Anyway, so
Second question, probably a probable answer is what is my wife thinking? If I can tell that.
Thank you for that. Okay. So, again, question to Praveen. How do you see AI startups contributing to the nation building and social impact? I know it's a rapid fire, but still ask.
No, so I've had the good fortune of working with over 140 startups since the past year and a half, and we've seen some amazing stories. You see startups that are looking at developmental disorders in children, and how AI can actually identify this early on. And if it's identified early on, there are chances of interventions working out well and causing the child to grow better improves even more. And that's one example I can cite. We've seen also, again, in the context of healthcare, wound assessments today in hospitals are done manually by nurses. They take a look at the wound. These could be, a surgical wound. It could be diabetic ulcers. Any of these wounds that are there in the people, and it can take nearly about 30 minutes. AI today, with multispectral imaging, they can understand the kind of blood flow that is flowing beneath, the kind of bacteria that might be inside the skin, depending on the wound parameters. And this is done in a matter of 2 minutes or 1 minute, or even lesser in some cases. Now imagine the kind of speed up and the impact that this could bring. And I really think healthcare is one sector that's already being, flush with the kind of solutions that are coming in from the startup industry. In education as well, we see a lot of different stories coming in, stories that are pertinent on, how do you really assess candidates in something which you've talked about, and this is also very, very useful because a lot of fake resumes, and unfortunately the state of industry is such. But then these are solutions from that level to assessing dropouts, and something that Sanjay, you and I spoke, and Microsoft, I'm sure, has played a very significant role. And predicting school dropouts is very, very important. In the state of Andhra Pradesh, there was a very good project that was undertaken, machine learning project. And but then we are currently looking at sanitation in schools, looking at how startups can solve that problem, identifying, classifying how a particular toilet is cleaned by sanitation workers, how clean it is, because there's a direct correlation to girl children attending schools, and dropout rates can get reduced as a result of that. I mean, I can keep on narrating stories. I'm going to be around. I can tell more stories. I know it's a rapid fire, so I'm going to stop here.
Thank you. I know the question itself is not a rapid fire question, so but it's okay. Thank you. At least you did fire. Anyway, I'll ask Sandhya. I know you are very passionate about diversity and inclusion. How can businesses encourage, by using AI, how can they encourage increased participation of women so that we can minimize the bias and discrimination?
Thank you, Manoj. This very close to my heart, and you kind of mentioned that, right? I'm part of the D&I initiative at the company as well, and I do from the industry perspective as well, I do participate in multiple areas. If you look at today, right, I mean, biases exist in human society, and that kind of is carried into the AI space as well. Now, if you have to reduce the bias or discrimination against women, how does the data come in? It's because into machine learning, right? I mean, you are teaching machines, and that whatever data is there, that's how you're teaching it. I think one way to curtail that is to ensure that we have diverse data, which we are, the way we teach our machines, right? Make sure our data has the right representation of women and other genders or other minority communities as well. So that's number one. And it also, here's an ask from the industry as well as startups or government to make sure that the data is open for everybody as well, right? So that the diverse data is available and not just what's on the internet, because they're all biased. If somebody searches for scientists, you'll see, like, probably whether it's in Google or Bing or any place, if you will, right? You'll see mostly men, not so much of women. There are women scientists actually, in fact, right? But it's the data, there's a marketing which is there, which kind of help, where you're seeing the biases. So it's very important to ensure that we're cognitive about it and ensure that there's right representation of people and data into the systems. The second part is in terms of the people who work in the AI systems in developing or in terms of upskilling. We have to ensure that the women out there as well. So hiring. Especially Shri Prasad, probably this is an ask for you as well when you're hiring and getting the numbers from 3,000 to 10,000. Make sure, encourage more women there, right? And especially in the AI systems, if you will. I'm sure you're going to do that. So encourage that and upskill women. So, that also kind of reduces the discrimination and the bias of it. The third part is the auditing. I think we kind of alluded to in the last question we spoke about is auditing the systems to ensure that the bias is not there. In fact, I don't know how many of you have heard, there's a company who actually used AI in hiring. And in fact, because of the data, they started getting more male profiles than women profiles because of the bias which crept in. And during one of the audit process, it was realized, and it's one of the big companies, right? They had to get the tool out, and they went back into the manual process. So there are ethical challenges in it. Unfortunately, today, there is bias in the system, so it's very important to be very cognitive about it, be aware of it, and work towards removing that bias and create more data in the systems.
So on the point that she made on growing to 10,000, let me just tell you that currently I have 4,500 plus people in Vijayawada. 43% are women. I don't think any other company has 43%. And the way we did it is... Super. Very nice. Amazing. Okay, women leader. So the way we are trying to look at in future is like what she mentioned, using the tool, internal tool, to ensure that the future hiring happens the right way. Meaning the women, more women, wherever there is a possibility, we ensure that women are recruited. The lateral recruitment, it's difficult. Honestly speaking, I can say that I will recruit only women But technology skill, important technology skill, if women are not available, I can't lose the business. So what we do is we enforce this thing on freshers. I have 68 to 70% of the freshers who are joining me as women. So that's a big thing. Whenever you see our photographs of freshers, you see almost 80% women only. So that's a big thing that we are doing. And AI, it's general common sense. We don't even need AI there. It's just a common sense is what I feel. Thank you.
Yeah, so now that we have to give more representation to women, so I think we'll reduce our male contribution. Anyway, we crossed the time by 5 minutes, Nupama, but we started 5 minutes late, so we stuck to 1 hour, okay? Thank you so much. Appreciate all of you and appreciate all the panel speakers. Thank you.
So just a token of appreciation for the kind of talk we had, and a lot of knowledge and a lot of power with AI implications and implementations around. It was a really nice session with you all, and we loved the rapid fire as well. It was good. So just a token of appreciation from our end. For the lady leadership. Thank you so much.